It is officially here. The NBA schedule has released for the 2025 season. Today, we will recap some of the Sixers' key stretches and big matchups to look out for this upcoming season. But more importantly, we get another Joel Embiid update. Some of it good, some of it bad. A lot of overreactions from the fans. We'll talk about all of it and more right here on Philly Take with RB. But welcome on into the show. We're going to start it off with the newest announcement today coming out this morning. That's right, the Xfinity Mobile Arena. Get used to saying it. It is no longer the Wells Fargo Center. If you drive by, this is what you will see. Xfinity Mobile. Do we like it? Do we like that change? I know we talked about it weeks ago. To be honest, I'm not really a big fan of it. I'm just so used to calling it the Wells Fargo Center. But nonetheless, that's where we are at. More importantly, though, NBA 2K26 is out, and guess who they have as a top 10 shot blocker in the game? That's right, not Joel Embiid, not Paul George, not whoever else is going to play power forward for the Sixers, but Adem Bona. Adem Bona getting some recognition from NBA 2K26. That is crazy. He is in the top 10. He's number 6 behind Walker Kessler, Donovan Clingan, Rob Williams, Chet Holmgren, and Wemby. 91 overall. All right, before we get to the important stuff, just want to highlight this video real quick. Justin Edwards back in the gym with Chris Johnson, Tyrese Maxey's trainer, and a guy who helps him out. And honestly, man, if you put it stock in Adem Bona, put some stock in Justin Edwards. Look at this clip, man. He's looking good. He's moving around well, looks to be in good shape, throwing down the hammer right there. Obviously had a lot of opportunities this past season as a rookie based on the situation, but I thought he looked like a real piece, like an integral role player. Obviously still has to develop, but in the opportunities he got, he looked really, really sharp. And there he is working on a catch and shoot. So shout out to Justin Edwards. We'll talk about him more in a bit, but we need to go to Joel Embiid because a lot of people are hitting me up. I'm out here trying to relax on the beach and I'm getting these notifications again. I'm like, okay, has Quentin Grimes actually signed? No, it's Joel Embiid. So anyway, a new article, new piece, quotes came out from Nick Nurse. And according to Nick Nurse, all the news has been quote unquote positive about Joel Embiid's health, but more decisions on his availability for training camp still remain. We'll talk about more when we look at the article here in just a second. But at the same time, you have a lot of the fan base overreacting because what we have expected to this point, from what we heard with Daryl Morey, what we heard with some of the players themselves, is all right, Joel Embiid had that knee surgery. He's rehabbing. He's getting better. He needs to be ready for training camp, right? We know the Paul George update. He got hurt in a workout. He had the same arthroscopic knee surgery. He's going to be, quote unquote, reevaluated at training camp. But now, as time goes on and things linger a bit, and we hear a lot of uncertainty, whether it's from Daryl Morey or the others, and now Nick Nurse, it does start to feel like there's a real chance that Joel Embiid does not play in training camp. And let me just tell you, if we get there at the beginning of September, wherever they're going to hold it at, and Joel Embiid is not good and he's not ready to go, then we start to have real conversations about his status for the season. Is it in jeopardy? Is he going to be fine? Now, again, I don't want to overreact because a lot of people saw this and completely, consolidated all this and blew it up and said Joel Embiid's not going to play, etc. Let's hear what Nick Nurse had to say in full. Shout out to Harrison Grimm for putting it together here in an article. Nick Nurse's quote, "All the news is positive. I know he's working very, very hard. I think things look good." But he then follows up by saying whether he's ready for training camp or not, I think maybe there are more decisions that have to be made before we get there. So that's what Nick Nurse says in regards to Joel Embiid. Our main thing is that he's healthy to play and to play to his nearest capabilities because he's awesome, no doubt about that. So again, it feels like the Sixers are being very vague. They're kind of towing the line. They're not saying he's going to be ready. He's going to play. I think they're looking at what happened last year and they don't want to make the same mistake where they overpromise and underdeliver. And then the fans are going, why are we even paying for tickets? Why are we paying for season tickets? Why are we even here at all? So I think they're not trying to just completely confirm, okay, he's going to be here for training camp. He's going to be ready at this date. And then everybody gets pissed off. Maybe that's not what's going on. That's just my guess, but I just don't like how they're kind of playing both sides of the equation. So Again, Nurse comments hint that there's a chance Embiid could miss the start of the season. Obviously not ideal. You want to make sure he's healthy before you play him. But if he starts to miss time again at the beginning of the season, then we're sitting here going, what happened with the surgery? This is now number 2 back to back, and he couldn't really play at all last year. And when he did not look good. So if he's not going to play to start this season, I mean, now you have to really have these long-term questions. Will he ever get back on the floor? Nurse says we had a really unfortunate season last year. We could not get away from the injury bug at all. Not only Joel Embiid, I think he played 19 games. That was one thing, but it was 4, 5, 6 guys every night. We could never get any continuity. We used an incredible 40 different players last year, really the most ever. So yeah, tough season. You want to move on, but you need your guys here. I mean, we know Paul George, Joel Embiid dealing with injuries. These are the max guys, and if they can't play this year, those are going to look like 2 of the worst contracts ever. So that's where we're at. It feels like a little bit of good and bad, saying that everything's positive, but at the same time, there's not really any clarity, and it is frustrating for Sixer fans, no doubt about it. But no matter whether they are there or not, let's take a look at the schedule, which just released for this upcoming season. Now, I don't want to go through every single game. We do this every year. And I'm like, all right, well, on October 22nd, they're playing this team. And then on January 3rd, I mean, we don't even know who's going to be on the floor, right? Like usually I give my record prediction, which is just a wild guess because, you're playing all the same teams for the most part. But here are some of the highlights. All right, so the Sixers play their opening game in Boston on October 22nd. They will not be one of the opening games this year. Their home opener will be on October 25th against the Charlotte Hornets. Their longest homestand is 6 games from January 14th to the 24th. That includes the rival week game, which this year will be against the New York Knicks. I kind of like that, little brewing rivalry there. And then on MLK Day, they will play at 7 p.m. against the Indiana Pacers. Now, a little bit more info here. They have 14 national television games. Keep in mind, they had 27 last year. So even the Sixers are not getting any stock from the NBA this year. They're also not playing on Christmas Day, and that hasn't happened in years. They have 16 back-to-backs, one more than last year, and they have 17 games in January and 16 games in March, which are usually the 2 most jam-packed months, so they will remain that way. Also, a little bit more information, the Sixers have 2 5-game road trips this year, which is less than they had last year. So it seems like the NBA is trying to space it out a little bit. I still think overall they need to take away games, but that obviously will never happen. Obviously, there's been so many injuries, here and there and late in the season, but that's kind of just what we have to deal with at this point. But let's take a quick glance at the schedule here. So, from what we expect, it looks like they should start off the season pretty well if they're in good shape. Now, if Embiid and Paul George don't play, who knows how this season could derail quickly. But it seems like they have a pretty favorable start to the season. Boston, Charlotte, Orlando, Washington, teams like Brooklyn, Chicago, Cleveland, Toronto. Then they start to get into November. And honestly, this is my first time looking at some of this as well. November seems to be a little bit of a tough month. Let's see where their West Coast trip is. Because last year, if you remember, they were like really weird times. They were in November and December. And those were earlier than usual. Let's see. They have the Lakers. Where's their 10 p.m. games on this schedule? Do they even have them? Eastern time. There we go. Let's see. Here we go. February. So it looks like the first one might actually be in February, which is a bit different than normal. And then do they have another one? That's pretty odd. Oh, here we go. February. Wow. So it looks like they might actually all be, oh wait, here we go. Later in the season in March, they have Portland, Denver, Sacramento, and Utah. So in February, they have what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 games in a row on the West Coast. That's going to be a tough one, especially coming off that 17-game month in January. But they have 5 back-to-back West Coast games in February. And then in March, they have 1, 2, 3. So it looks like 3 in March. So last year, they were very weird. They were in November and December. This year, they are in February and March. Keep that in mind as they progress through the season. And it looks like January, with all those games, are going to be against tough teams as well. So really, if this team is not rocking and rolling by the time the new year gets around, they might have to chalk it up. Like if they're dealing with a bunch of injuries and guys are in and out of the lineup and, they're 5-10 games under 500, they have to really start to think about this, because once you get to January and then you have those West Coast trips in February and March, it's not really looking too pretty. Then you look here at the end of March, it starts to lighten up a little bit, but to end the season, you have Minnesota, Detroit, San Antonio, Houston, Indiana, and Milwaukee. So overall, it doesn't really seem like too favorable of a schedule. I know we say this every year, and for the first time ever, I really don't even have a prediction. I don't know how many games they're going to win or lose because I don't know who's going to be on the floor. So that's where we're at. We'll see how it plays out. Give me your thoughts on the Sixers schedule. Do you think it is good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think they will get off to a hot start this year? What do you make of the Joel Embiid update? Give me all of your thoughts on that and more down below. And as always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hope everybody's enjoying their summer. Catch you on the next one. Peace.